This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Premier African Minerals and Canmax have reached an agreement to amend the terms of their previous agreement concerning the Zulu lithium and tantalum project. Changes focusing on settlement options for any outstanding prepayment plus interest by April 2025. And Canmax can either take a direct interest in Zulu lithium valued at $100 million or accept Premier ordinary shares. Well, joining us today, of course, is CEO George Roach. George, thank you for your time. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm all right. Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure talking to you. And of course, a bit belated, but all the best for Christmas and great New Year as well.
Indeed. Thank you very much. And to you as well, George. Thank you for joining us in the sort of the interim period between Christmas and New Year here to catch up on this RNS. So just first of all, can I just get a sense from you, like from the horse's mouth, so to speak, about the amended agreement and the implications for Premier's overall valuation?
Yeah. All right, so let me just start by saying that Canmax, and I'll go through some of the detail just now, required certain amendments for support of the disapplication. Whether one went a disapplication route or went over longer term to an open offer to shareholders is up for debate. The general consensus amongst advisors primarily was that we should avoid the open offer route that would take time, it cost more and so on. So a lot of it stems from that. But I think that there's a lot that has been missed in this. And one of the comments I've heard, for example, is why we changed the valuation. Well, let me say this, that in the beginning, the 200 million was an arbitrary number, and it reflected a view and a feeling at that time a couple of years ago. To date, our spend at Zulu is approximately 100 million. And that's a much better indicative number. But the other thing that's been forgotten about is that there is a certain amount of spend at the moment that relates to Canmax's prepayment into Premier. Now, all the money that's gone to Zulu has gone to Zulu on a loan account basis from Premier to Zulu. As we fund this thing going forward, that's an addition to loan account. Now, it's one thing to acquire the company at a certain valuation, which will dictate how many shares you have in the company. That's another thing to acquire the loans that are payable by the company. So I just want to make the point that if there is additional significant spend, the lot of additional spend is going to accrue a loan account. So I think that we shouldn't be too misguided in terms of that value and in terms of what happens as we go forward with further development. So that's the first point I want to make. The second point I want to make is that Canmax is a major lender of money. Is always entitled to be in a different secured position when it comes to Poland. Canmax was not. And that also was representative, I think, of the state of the markets at the time. Canmax quite likely has come back and said that they really do with the amount that is, I would feel they should be in a better position of being secure, A, and B, that the possibility of converting to an equity in Zulu or in Premier should be more reflective of the proper pricing and market valuations at the moment. So that was the second component of that. But I think that what isn't coming through at the moment, and what needs to be thought about and understood, is that Canmax have always said to us that they don't particularly want to own and operate the project. That's not what they're about. And if I look at the company, the history of it and where they are not that company. Their investment in some other mines was at a level that secured the offtake, and they then sold out and moved on. Now, with Prem and with Zulu, we have a situation where there's a significant prepayment that hasn't been liquidated yet. In the background, Canmax are very keen that we should be able to finance our operations independent of them, independent of the real estate that we can. That we should be able to find alternative finance, possibly bank, but not necessarily equity related. Now, Canmax are not, in my personal opinion, in a position, or were not in a position prior to these amendments to actively look to try and assist us and work our way through this, because their position was not necessarily adequately assured. So having challenged their relationship and their ability to recover and to protect themselves, it is clear to me, so say again, in my personal opinion, based on some of the discussions, that we can expect some assistance and guidance in seeking the alternative funding mechanisms that we have always wanted, that are much more debt-related. Now, that obviously requires the two things. The one which I've just been speaking about is the support that we have involved in necessarily, and two is making the plant work. So the principal concern at the moment is to get this 5 basis done. Now, I've said all the way through, from October, from September, whenever we start talking about what we had to do to finish the final commission with the spodumene float plant, that required money. I haven't had money. We should have, and we are going to be quite circumspect in how we go about funding the test program that happen and the development between now and the point when we have this at proper, stable grade and recovery production on the spodumene plant. But I can only do that. So that will happen. Editors, the specialists who will deal with the reagent side have already been arranged for early January. I think it's second week in January, subject to correction. There's a lot of moving parts there. And the other thing that I'm doing simultaneous with this is I am securing, and it is reserved at the moment for us, this additional spodumene float plant that is in Zimbabwe. Now, what I'm doing with that is I told the supplier I want to revisit everything to do with the block. I want to run a complete review. I want to be completely satisfied that we haven't missed anything in terms of, is this going to float properly? Is it going to deliver properly? What is its right tonnage? Have we covered all the limits? Are we able to provide it the correct density? Have we got the right reagent feeding mechanism for it? A lot of these things we've done before. We believe that they're there, but I want to review this and review them very, very carefully. So there is communication at the moment with them to achieve exactly that and to get that done as quickly as possible. I expect to be in Zimbabwe from the 1st or 2nd of January, and we'll be at you, and a lot of this will then obviously progress and develop to work. But I hope that provides a little bit more clarity and a little bit of a broader perspective in terms of what we've done and where we've gone with this. So in summary, from the one point of view, it is a requirement, and I think it is adjusted from our off-take partner. From another perspective, it puts us all into a much better position to seek and to try and find alternative funding mechanisms. So that really, just trying to pull it together, underlies a lot of what has been going on. It hasn't been an easy negotiation. Not everybody's happy with everything they've got, which I suppose is symptomatic of something that's more likely to work. But that is where we are.
Okay, yeah, good. Well, that covers a lot of things there. I have sort of 3 just follow-ons on the different elements there. Just first of all, on the agreement itself then. So this is what I think what you mentioned at the AGM in London there, that there might be some renegotiation to be had with Canmax on the agreement, which is clearly what's happened now, to effectively shore up their position, give them some insurance so that they're happy to support the vote. So that's what I'm getting there, and there's different points in there that allow them to secure their position then, feel more comfortable that they're not going to effectively lose out a lot. Have you any idea? I mean, there's a couple of things. What CanMac's likely settlement preference is and the potential impact on Premier's structure, and then also what happens in April. Do you think, because of course that's still that original backstop date, so to speak, would anything happen in April?
Well, in terms of what happens in April, I don't know. We're not there. But I can tell you that the view of several of my colleagues is nothing. Nothing's going to happen like that. That's the view of quite a few of my colleagues who've been involved in the discussions and so on with the offtake partner. And I think that the more likely we are, the closer we are to proper production rate and recoveries, the greater the likelihood is of nothing happening. Except that we should find ourselves in a much, much stronger position, being able to fund alternatives, being able to now get into the upside of this whole Zulu deposit, because we hold this huge exploration area with maybe another 100 pegmatites identified but not explored, and to start looking at where we take this into the future. So, as I say, going back to your question, well, there is no consensus, and I can't give you one because April's a future event. But I can tell you that that's some of my colleagues' views. And to an extent, it's supported by what our offtake partners said, that they don't want to take over this club. They don't want to take over the company. That's what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So if everything goes according to plan, nothing will happen in theory, and they'll effectively get their spodumene product to start repaying the prepayment there for the spodumene. I know we talked about this before in like a worst case scenario. Can you say what that would be if you can't deliver?
Absolute worst case scenario is that CanMax could convert their debt into equity in Prem and or Zulu. As far as Prem is concerned, they are restricted to whatever the take-up code and memorandum and articles allows. I think it's 29, whatever the percent was. Thereafter, it would be the willing board and the willing body of shareholders to disapply more shares if they were to go higher. So that's on the one side. On the other side, acquiring a stake in Zulu. And the stake in Zulu at the moment will be, I don't want to be quoted on numbers, but let me say what we've stated, what the interest is at the moment. I think it's 10.5 million euros, something like that. We know what the prepayment was. CanMax has a right, and we've offered that right, and I'm sure they will utilize it to the extent that it's available to convert part of that interest into Prem equity, to push their position back to the 13 point whatever the percent is. And they will use that conversion at the same price that we placed out shares. So they're effectively going to support that, whatever it is, placement and whatever the mixed fund was going to be. They're supporting it. They're saying they will convert part. That cuts the amount of interest. The capital remains the same. If you get to April, I saw one comment somewhere, I don't know, from to the effect that by the time it gets April, we owe them 100 million. I don't quite know that it's going to get to that kind of level. I don't know how it's going to get to the final level. But whatever it is, if they were to elect to convert, they would convert. That number was completely worthless. As far as I'm concerned, but whatever your prepayment is, plus whatever the interest.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. And that does bring us on to just concerns, as ever, of course, about dilution in terms of what happens if that does indeed convert, but also, of course, the issuance of shares to fund what's going on. So some of the sentiment I picked up was really there are concerns about significant dilution and perhaps CanMax's ability to influence the share price for its own benefit here. And a couple of comments, or three people have said that I've noticed, we're still in the game, but at what cost? The valuation of Zulu feels low, but perhaps realistic given expectations. Dilution seems inevitable, but CanMax involvement could stabilise the company. So just on that element, George, this kind of general concern about shareholders, about further dilution here, getting into production, what can you say to address those concerns?
Let me say, look, there is a dissatisfaction with conflict. there is going to be some dilution that's going to come as a result. We do need to get money fairly quickly. I'm trying to be circumspect with that, and I would like to deal with it over a period. Secondly, I've made the point that with production, proper production, comes a much better opportunity for other financing, and that with what we have done now, with giving Canmax their security, it seems to me, based on the discussions that we've had, that they are going to assist us and get behind other means of financing this. I mean, I would not expect them to suddenly sign surety for Zulu. If they did, that would mean we could get whatever debt financing we want. I don't necessarily see that. But do I see that with their position better secure, they may be prepared to introduce us to some other parties they'll deal with? We may be able to have conversations with other major traders. There are some discussions with other major traders. You always have been hoping with that anyway. Then there are a lot of opportunities that this may tend to open. And I think that I'm going to encourage, well, I'm already encouraged that there is conversation with our offtake, but with people like this and ourselves to try and reposition a lot of our financing needs.
Okay, I don't know if you can elaborate on that a little bit. That's something new there. Other off-takers, other traders. Can you give any more information on that?
No, but there always have been. I've spoken before about various people that we've spoken to. Some of the biggest trading entities around are known to us. They've done site visits over periods. They've had conversations with us. They work with our offtake partner. They know them very well. There are long-standing relationships in that sphere of business. Now, I just feel that we're going to try and take the opportunity to try and drag all of this a little closer to us and to try and get assistance in different ways to the traditional way in which we'll look to finance this project in the lead up to production.
Okay. Can you say what that could look like? Are we talking different products
aside
from spodumene?
No, I'm talking about spodumene. I don't know what that potential financing package, if it's going to happen, is going to look like.
Okay.
I really don't know. But suffice it to say that some of these other traders are very well funded.
Okay.
And they may very well be in a position to work together with our offtake partner and alleviate part of funding the debt situation that our offtake partner experiences at the moment.
Okay.
There are a number of potential opportunities in that direction. It's going to be a lot of hard work. I don't know if it's going to come through, but that's the kind of thing that I think that this agreement allows us to start looking.
Okay, all right then. Well, let's see how that goes, George. I'm interested in that angle now. Just a final point, if we can just set out roughly what's to come in the immediate future here in terms of the companies, just getting some clarity on the immediate funding strategy, which presumably will be coming from issuance of shares here, when they're going to be needed by, and when you're going to get that first initial test run done. Okay,
so subject to the plants being ready, and there have been some challenges without money on into them. Subject to all of that being ready, we are hoping to run the plant during the week of the date, right? I think it's the week of the 10th or the 11th of January. Later that week, we are targeting to have the plant in a state where we can start running. The chemical flotation reagent supplier, then senior technical staff are on standby and they've already undertaken that they can be available at that time. There are one or two other things that still need to fall into place. For example, the float plant supplier is on shutdown at the moment. I need to deal with them still, and I'll deal with them as early as I can, even while they're still away, to tie them in, because I need technical support to make sure the plant's going to run properly. So there are a lot of moving parts. But that is target at this time. In the interim, if I can cover all the bases on the secondary flotation plant, I will confirm that order just as soon as I possibly can. And hopefully that will be next week. In this resume price at the moment.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for that update, George. So I'm sure we'll be catching up, perhaps middle of January to see how things are going, particularly with that first that test run. But thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Mark. Yes.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.